Welcome to the Private Label Show with Andy and Nathan Slammons. Welcome back to the Private Label Show. I am Nathan Slammons along with Andy Slammons, and we are excited to bring you another great show full of private label information. In the last episode, we gave you an introduction to the show and talked about 7 criteria that you should look at when you're trying to find a private label product to potentially import and sell on Amazon. If you need more help with that process, which is an extremely important process, we highly recommend that you check out our website by clicking above and that you apply to join our Mastermind Group. That will be extremely helpful for guiding you along the private label process. In today's show, we're going to talk about how you can go about looking for manufacturers to actually create your private label product and some of the factors that you need to consider once you pick out a couple of potential private label products and before you actually order them. All right, Andy, so I've been searching for some private label products and have followed the 7 criteria that you gave us in the last video. How am I actually going to get these products made?
Yeah, so if you remember, number 7 on my list from last time, I said you need to be able to manufacture your item for a low cost. That's always the key, right? When we're talking about selling, buying low and selling high. And so, if you found a product but you can't get it manufactured for a low cost, it's not going to do you any good. Usually, you're going to be able to get that made somewhere like China or India for the lowest cost. As I was saying before, we live in amazing times, and there are great resources that are available that can easily connect us with suppliers who are in China or in India. Alibaba.com and AliExpress are 2 websites that allow manufacturers to advertise the type of products that you and I can create. In the last show, we took a look at a video and we saw how you can search for a yoga roller on Alibaba.com and have manufacturers pop up that make very similar products.
All right, great. So Alibaba is a huge website that has many suppliers on it and tons of products. So that is why it is so helpful in finding private label products on those websites. So now I know whenever I talk to people about importing private label products from somewhere like China, one of the major concerns that people have is about sending money overseas. Are there certain things, Andy, that you do to try to make this process a little bit safer?
Yeah, there are definitely different filters you want to use. When I first started ordering from Alibaba and when I first started importing, this was one of the things that worried me the most. Because I heard stories of other sellers, sending purchase orders, sending money overseas, and then never seeing that money again. And so when I started importing, I was very diligent in figuring out what the safest way to do it is. And so I always recommend when using Alibaba to only search for gold suppliers who have had at least 2 or 3 years as what's called gold supplier status. I say search for assessed suppliers, which means that they've been checked by a third-party inspection company. Now, with following these guidelines, I've sent hundreds of thousands of dollars overseas, and the majority of it by wire, and I haven't had a single issue so far. Not that it can't happen, like anything in business, but it usually is not as big of a deal as most people initially think and as I initially thought.
All right, great. So let's look up here real quick and see what it might look like when going to Alibaba and trying to find some potential suppliers. Let's look at that now. In episode 1 of the Private Label Show, we looked at this foam yoga roller and what it might look like if we try to private label and find a supplier to make this product for us. We'll go into a little more detail today, and we'll again look at Alibaba.com and see if we can find a supplier and the steps that we would take to try to look for this product. So this is on Amazon. It's currently selling on Amazon and doing very well. And we are going to go over to Alibaba.com and see what it might look like. So if we go to Alibaba and we type in yoga roller, we are going to have a number of suppliers show up on the website. And so what we want to do here, as we mentioned just a few seconds ago, is we want to always check the gold supplier and assess supplier. As Andy mentioned, this is the way that he is able to filter out some of the potentially negative suppliers that might be on Alibaba. So I'm going to go ahead and check gold supplier. I'm also going to check assess supplier because we only want to look at manufacturers that meet those requirements. Now that I've done that, we're going to scroll down and we're going to look to see if we can find a picture that looks similar to the roller that we're looking at on Amazon. And I'm going to keep going till I find one that looks pretty similar. And here we go. Here's one that looks very similar to the one that's already on Amazon. I will go there. And we can see that they have been a gold supplier for 8 years, which is a good sign because it means that they've been on Alibaba and had a gold supplier status for 8 years. We can see a couple of other pieces of information here. They say the price could be between $1 and $10. Now, we are never sure on that exactly until we start communicating with the supplier, but it may give us an idea of the price point that we're kind of looking at. They say the minimum order quantity is only 10 pieces, which is a very good sign because when you're first starting out private label, it's definitely beneficial if you can order on the lower end of things, both from a capital standpoint and just to make sure that you can test a product and make sure there's no issues. If we keep going, we can see that they also, some of their payment terms, they accept these various payment terms, including PayPal, which is a good sign because many people have either used PayPal before or are familiar with PayPal, and it's a little more comforting to see if a supplier accepts PayPal payments. It makes you feel a little bit safer than if you're just going to wire money. Although, as Andy mentioned, he's done that plenty of times without any issues either. We can get more information down here. You can actually look at the company profile and see some other information. But at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and contact the supplier because we can just see what's going to be what we're going to get some initial communication going with the supplier, and then they will hopefully give us any of the specific details that we're looking for. So when we get here, I'm not going to go through the entire email you would likely send out. We have a email template in the Slamazon Bros Mastermind Group that you can check out. That is a good template for when you're first communicating with suppliers. But basically the information that you're looking to put here is you want to give an introduction of yourself. Typically, you're going to say that your manager is asking you to contact them and you are the purchasing supplier, something like that. You are looking to establish a profitable relationship with the supplier that would be mutually beneficial. And then you're always going to ask to have usually 2 to 4 samples delivered to you express. And typically you can use the supplier's courier to do that. Now, we always want to ask for samples. Getting samples is a crucial step in the private label process because it helps eliminate potential mistakes. It helps you really get a grasp of the quality that is going to be in these products. And you don't want to be surprised by bad products that could simply have been avoided if you would have gotten samples. So we always recommend that you get samples. And then you're just going to close it. You're going to give your information, if you like, where you're located at. Typically, you might say, I want these samples delivered to this state in the United States, and they may ask you for your specific address after that. And then at the end, you might want to just say that you're hoping to order more units in the future if the quality meets your expectations, but you don't want to guarantee anything. That's basically it. You can send your inquiry then, and then you can even talk with some of the customer service people and move your conversation to Skype or another platform if you find that easier. That's a quick look at how you can find a product on Amazon and then go to Alibaba and find a potential supplier. And then we recommend trying to find multiple suppliers so you can negotiate prices, price comparison, and shop around a little bit and see what is available on Alibaba. Hope that helps. Okay, that's great. And when you look through Alibaba, it's really amazing how cheap you can get some of the items manufactured. Now, just be careful though, because most of the manufacturers that are on Alibaba are going to put a price that is lower than what they're actually going to sell it to you for. So even though it says maybe a range of $2 to $5, it might be a little bit higher than that. They're trying to draw you in. So just be aware, don't always base all your information or your pricing and what you potentially can make just off what you're seeing there. You're going to have to actually contact those suppliers like we talk about and try to get a little closer of a quote. And as we mentioned, AliExpress before, we talked about that, which is similar to Alibaba, but usually you can expect to get a lower quantity ordered on AliExpress, oftentimes only 1 or 2 items, although your price isn't likely going to be as low as it is on Alibaba where you're ordering a higher quantity in bulk. So Andy, let's say I've spent time researching some potential private label products and have gone through the checklist that you gave us in the previous show, and I'm looking to see if I can get those items manufactured for a low cost in China. Now, am I actually at this point going to start ordering products, or are there a couple other things that I really should check out first?
So yeah, it can be really exciting, right? To want to get out there to start ordering items when you found a product and when you think it's going to be good. But I feel like it's important that you go through some further research on that product to make sure there's not going to be any potential issues down the road. So remember, when it comes to private labeling, it's not necessarily a race, but it's more about slow and steady progress, especially when starting out.
All right, that makes sense. I would definitely want to start by making smart buying decisions and get good quality inventory, since that really is what leads to successful selling on Amazon, getting good quality inventory. So what are some things, Andy, that you like to look at after you find a couple of potentially good private label products?
Sure. So one of the items that I mentioned last time was making sure that you're using the Amazon bestseller rank, information that Amazon has available for us. It's really important. Not only that, but make sure you look at the average historical bestseller rank for a product. So the bestseller rank on Amazon is constantly changing based on how many units an item has been purchased recently. For that reason, it's important that you look at the bestseller rank over time to try to forecast an average for it going forward. So the bestseller rank is really important to review and understand. And a lot of times the people will just call that the BSR. Also, when I'm considering private label products, I like to do some keyword research on the product to get a better feel for the product demand. Remember, the whole key to this is you can't just throw anything on the Amazon marketplace and expect that it's going to sell. You have to throw products in the Amazon river that Amazon customers are looking for, that they are actively placing in that search bar. So that's why we use the BSR, and that's why what we'll do too is we'll do further keyword research. Some of the tools I utilize when doing this are Merchant Words, the Google Keyword Tool. Merchant Words is a service that tries to determine the number of searches for a keyword on Amazon. Now, this isn't absolutely necessary since the historical Amazon bestseller rank gives us most of the information that we need, but it can be helpful as an extra research step. Again, we go over this more in our Mastermind group, and there's actually a discount for Merchant Words posted in there as well. Okay, so I really like to get a handle on the historical bestseller rank information that Amazon provides. I like to do some keyword research. And the third thing I like to always do is patent research. So when you're looking for a private label product, you really need to try to do some research to see if the item that you're looking at has a patent on it that would prohibit you from creating a similar product. This reason is why it's also recommended that you look for items that are simple and have few moving parts as well. As the more complex an item is, the more likely there's going to be a patent on it. And also, it may not operate correctly. So there are a number of ways to do patent research, but a good initial way is just to go to Google Patents and start your search there.
All right, great tips. And this research can be done before or after you look for the manufacturer. It really just depends on how you feel your time is most efficiently spent. So usually we like to see if we can even get that product manufactured for a low cost, but that's really up to you. So that gives us a look at some of the steps that you're going to take after you find a couple of potential private label products. So that was great. Thanks, Andy. Now coming up, you do not want to miss our next show. It is going to be a really important one, and one that a lot of sellers, especially new sellers, run into trouble with. So don't miss out on the next show. The next private label show, we're going to be talking about how to assess the competition and how to avoid picking a product that is oversaturated on the market. There's just too much competition, yet some sellers still pick it and they run into trouble. So we have sellers coming to us every single day that have picked a bad product because they didn't go through the steps effectively that we're going to talk about in our next show, so make sure you don't miss it. If you're looking to start making money on Amazon and selling private label products, then you definitely want to check out our website here, and you want to join our Mastermind Group as well. The Mastermind Group is a place where you can ask us and other experienced Amazon sellers specific questions about the private label process. I'm Nathan Slamans along with Andy Slamans, and this has been an episode of The Private Label Show. Can't wait to see you guys next time. Thanks, everyone.